So I'm here with Marc, who was a lead artist on Dog Football at Pet Sports League Studios. And Marc is a man of many talents in the art world. If you bring it up, texturing, rigging, modeling, animating, he knows it. And he's well versed and can help you, like if you're new in the industry or even if you're experienced, he can help take you to another level. So we were very fortunate to have Marc working with us and working on Dog Football. In fact, right now there's a dog knocking the camera over, which is awesome.
The pleasure was mine. The pleasure was mine.
Because we needed a lot of reference and real dogs. Now, Marc also grew up with a family of huskies. Like literally, how many huskies were in your house?
At least usually 8 to 10 at any given moment. But at one point, I think we had about 20 huskies. We had a litter of puppies. So we had like 10 adults, 10 puppies running around. It was a husky pandemonium.
And what giant poodle? I remember a giant poodle.
Yeah, we had a couple, at least 2 or 3 poodles. Like when I was growing up, we had tons of dogs always throughout the house. So plenty of. I feel like I was made for this opportunity of dog football. I was literally bred for this moment that arose. So it was an epic opportunity, and yeah. Got all the reference from history, my childhood, that one could ever dream of.
I even remember several occasions where some of the artists would say, well, okay, I'm turning in this animation, or there's the model, and Marc would say, actually, okay, the dog needs to be a little like this is how they jump, or, and I mean, you couldn't go wrong. Marc literally knew exactly what he was talking about, plenty of reference materials, had an eye for it. Hey, look, it's Grizzly's
there we go, there we go. Grizzly is here.
And we got Grizzly here, who's a super dog. He's a good boy, yes, he is.
Reliving my childhood, bringing back the husky tradition. We've got a new husky in the family right here, and he's part of the show today.
And you probably can't see it, but there's goats, there's chickens. I mean, we're basically in a farm.
We've got it all. We've got it all.
So I'm going to ask Marc a few questions from the dev days, and we'll talk a little about that.
We'll see if I can remember.
So,
some of it I don't think I can. Like it's digging deep. We'll see.
If you saw the episode with Scott falling off the ladder, Marc basically saved his life and doesn't remember it.
I don't even remember it.
So
but I believe that it did happen. I cannot confirm or deny.
I was an eyewitness.
And if I don't remember, I'll just make it up.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
So you met Jerry Rice on several occasions while we were working on the game. Tell us what that was like, and did you get to know him better over the course of development? And what was that like for you with Jerry?
Oh man, that was incredible. Meeting Jerry Rice, I mean, like talk about like a fan opportunity. I mean, growing up a Niner fan all my life, like as a child watching the 49ers, I remember when Jerry Rice was a rookie on the 49ers and just being like, man, that guy's so fast, he just can't catch the ball. I was like, man, he's dropping the balls. But then after his rookie year, he was fast and he could catch the ball. And that's where like his career took off and became what we all know to be the greatest receivers of all time. Unquestionable. Like it's not even a question. Like he is the guy. Like you think about, who's the greatest receiver? I don't think anybody ever, Jerry Rice, no question. So the opportunity that I had to actually like spend time with the guy, to meet the guy, to be able to build his character for a video game, that was definitely one of the highlights, not just of my career, but of my life in general. Like meeting him, super, like as far as Jerry Rice goes, super humble guy. Like the guy is so down to earth, so humble, just like really mellow, and he like took the time to like share. We'd ask him, hey, how was it, Jerry? Like, tell us what's your secret, and he'd always like bring up his story about the Hill, which was this training ground that he went on, but I guess it was like near St. Carlos, Redwood City, Woodside, somewhere there. But it was this hill that basically he would train on, and that was his hill of like, he's just running up the hill. And so it's like, every time we're talking about like, how did you get, well, hey, dude, I just, I was running the hill like every day. And so you think about it, like that's almost, a little bit of an anecdote for life in general is like, hey, you want to get good at something, you want to be the best. Everybody has their own hill to take on, and Jerry Rice's physical hill, I think, is something that we could all kind of relate to in our own lives. Is like coming up with our own hills. What is our challenges that we need to overcome to get to that next level? So
definitely
inspirational.
Yeah, for greatness, reaching for greatness.
For greatness, exactly.
And what was I going to say about that? So yeah, I mean, you knew him as this big figure. You're finally getting to work with him, and a lot of people had asked me and say, "Oh, well, Jerry Rice, you just brought him in to make money," and da 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 da. And I remember one of our investors just saying, "I happen to know Jerry. He might be interested in this." And he came in and he's just like, "I love this. It's like dogs, football. This is my life. I love this thing." And so I have to say, you were witness to this. You were around from the beginning, so we didn't build this with, "Oh, we're gonna get some celebrity or we're getting Jerry." Right? We were literally just making dogs playing football, and that was the top of the ladder with that idea. And then Jerry shows up at the door all of a sudden. Is this not true? Do you recall?
No, 100%. Like there was Jerry Rice was not even on the radar. Like that when I heard that was a possibility, I was like, I mean, there was a lot of possibility. I mean, at some point, I remember we were talking about Tony Hawk. There was other Tom Brady. Like I think there was one of the soccer stars. I mean, there was like a lot of things being thrown out there, but Jerry Rice actually came true and materialized. But like that was, I mean, almost in a nutshell of like the whole experience of game development on this project. And I think anybody who's in game development knows and probably understands, like, usually you're going to start to work at, big developed studio. Everything's all lined up, got all their ducks in a row. But when you're starting at a startup company and like building everything from scratch, like it's down and dirty. Like everything is just really scrappy, like just trying to figure stuff out. And so you're just kind of winging it through almost like the entire process to get, the goal, get that game out the door. And the fact that we got Jerry Rice along that journey, like really helped bring everything together and come to an amazing, us to be able to deliver a final and amazing product at the end that turned out to be, I think, bigger than any of us imagined that it would be.
I agree, and I know some people out there, they're always like, "Well, it's not Madden. I'm the hardcore gamer, and I want this," which isn't who we made this game for.
It was never intended.
We made this to have fun. I mean, it's dogs playing football. I mean, what more can it be than just having a good time? Literally. Yep. I remember when we were in the small studio in Redwood City, and our programmer Richard had just gotten he was like, "Okay, I finally got the ball to throw, and a dog can catch it."
I remember that moment.
You were there, and a small team of us, I think 10 at the time, were like, "Well, let's go see what Richard's doing." He's like, "Come on, guys, take a look." And our first character throws the ball, just like in our demo video, which wasn't a playable, the original demo video, like the one we're doing with Dino-Dogs, just a playable, it's just a video. It's not a playable yet, but to show the concept. So now we're the first time as a playable. Richard's literally with the controllers, throws ball, it's in the air, and there's this little terrier just running out there, and everyone's like, come on, because we're working towards this thing that's like, is this going to be real? And boom, he catches it, and he's running, and everyone's just like,
can't believe it. It's actually happening.
And
but mind you, for the viewers, you need to put this into perspective too, and like to envision this situation, because when you're thinking like studio, like, hey, this was our first studio, it was literally a closet that there's like 10, 12 people shoved into a closet, crammed around a tiny little screen in this like dark like closet.
I got pictures, I'll post them.
It was tiny. Like, this is not, when you think studio, this is not what comes to mind, okay? So
it's not EA.
It is not EA.
You're not at Namco here.
This is maybe the coat room of EA. Like, it was...
With EA, it was an idea.
That's right. It's like maybe an 8x10 room, and there's like wall-to-wall monitors. Like, you can't, like, you're sitting at your workstation, and you're rubbing elbows with the guy literally next to you. And so we're all like cramming around to witness the magic of the first pass being caught by the dog. It was an incredible moment that we all celebrated.
Well, and to me, it's like to go from that to where we're actually, like you said, now Jerry Rice is in the game. Like, he's at our door going, "Can I be in your game? I want to be in your game." We're like, what the heck is going on, right? And things just kind of grew and blossomed and developed. It was crazy to watch, and I'm glad you were there to see that, because
as was I.
I started at Sony way back when, and Mark came by the studio and saw everything that was going on. He's like, "I want to make this my career," and he did, And then later down the road, here we are with our own little indie studio, and we're making these things happen. And then something that would happen at a big studio, like somebody like Jerry Rice come in, actually just happened on its own, organically. Like, we had literally just one of our investors was like, "I happen to know Jerry, he might like this," and yeah, right. And then boom, it's like, wow. So I'm glad you were part of all that. And we sort of tangented away, but that's all right.
We're probably going to go on a lot of tangents, to be fair. Be prepared, virtual or studio, wherever audience you happen to be.
Get on the ride.
It's going to be all right.
Strap in.
I mean, speaking of which, you did mention something that I feel I need to tap into a little bit. That moment where you took me into the Sony studio was a changing moment in my life. It's something that because throughout my career, a lot of people ask me, like, what made you start? How did you get started? I always refer back to that moment. The moment that you took me into that Sony studio changed my life. Like 100%. Like, it's not even like that. There was a moment, there was the time before that moment and the time after. And this was like,
BSAS, before Sony and after Sony.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's 100% true. But it was like, it was also at a time where I think a lot of people weren't necessarily aware of careers in video games or even as an artist. Like, it was, at least I wasn't aware of it. And I know people that I talk to, like, old school people, oh, you're going to be an artist. Oh, you're going to like be starving artist. You're going to be like trying to sling paintings on the side of the road, with the homeless
Golden
people.
Gate Bridges.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a Golden Gate. Here's a caricature for you, buddy. Can I have, 50 cents? Or it's like, can I get a $1 for a water? Like, it's, yeah. So, I think it was just a different mindset that people had at that time. And when I came into that studio and saw like just a sea of artists and people actually listening to music, like it looked like a fun environment, like people actually imagine enjoying your work. Like that did not even resonate. Like, how could that even be a thing? You're actually having fun at work. I mean, there's video games, you're playing, there's monitors, there's music. Like, it was like, it blew my mind. I was like, I have to do this. This is what I've been wanting all my life that I didn't even know was a thing. So I remember asking you, how do I do this? And you were like, and you talked to one of your industry friends, Ben Harrison, and he's like, oh, Academy of Art College, start cranking away, learn Maya. And I was like, okay. And I think it was actually Alias at the time. This was before
Alias,
Maya. This was before Maya.
This is PlayStation 1. Like, it just came out. And like,
It was old school. So yeah, I was like, okay, I will go to the Mountain Stronghold. And that was like kind of the start of my journey. And I just, I took off from there, embraced it. But like, you planted those seeds that I am extremely grateful for and will never forget that moment.
Glad I could be a part of it. Yeah, I mean, I knew Marc was as an artist growing up. I'm like, wow, this guy's got skills and he's a solid gamer. And then here I am in this world of game development. Like you said, a lot of people didn't know this was a path. And I was like, Marc, you got to take a look at this. And we had, like you said, great guys like Ben Harrison were happy to like give a few thoughts. And actually had like, I think most of the art staff, I said, if you wouldn't mind looking at his portfolio, giving some thoughts and giving him some feedback. And off he went to the races. And we'll get to that in a minute. Like, I want to ask Marc about what he would advise for new people in the industry, but we'll get to that. Hang tight. So if you saw another episode of this where we talked to Scott Matt and he was falling off the ladder and it was a critical moment and some two guys ran up and grabbed the ladder and pushed him back against the wall. I mean, this was a tall ladder. This is the long fall. And Marc was there. I watched this. Now, Marc doesn't remember, but I watched Marc and another friend of ours, Jason Rupert, another one of the developers, designer, ran over, grabbed the ladder, and secured him against the wall and saved Scott. And saved us, because that wouldn't have been fun for anybody.
No.
But Marc, you were saying you don't recall this.
Yeah, you were mentioning it. I was like, man, I don't even really remember. Like, to be fair, there was always something crazy happening on a daily basis.
Like what? Like, for example?
Oh, man. Like, there was just so, like, I mean, one day, Jason Rupert came in with a freaking pink poodle costume suit. He's wearing makeup. He's like dancing around as a pink poodle. Like, I mean, like, there was just constant stream of craziness that was like happening like on a daily basis. So that probably, the reason is like, oh yeah, this is just kind of like registers as
we had live Dixieland jazz bands on
I don't know how deep we want to go, but one of the producers literally jumped on one of the artist's cars as they were trying to pull out of the track.
Well, we'll stay out of the rough stuff. Let's stick to the good stuff.
Let's just say that there was stuff happening on a regular basis that as far as
crunch time gets wild. Let's
it,
put it
it
that way.
does get really wild. But we'll just say that Scott on the ladder, it's just all of the day's work. Like that was just par for the course.
Now, I do remember the pink poodle was we were doing like a promo video, basically live action, like dog football, as if like we were learning how it would work. And I think you were in the video somewhere. I'm pretty sure.
I might have been. I remember being there when it was happening, and I'm just like, what is going on? That one I remember.
Okay, so part of along those lines, I was going to ask you, or I'm going to ask you, what was your favorite part of working on dog football?
Man, this is something that number one, I think first and foremost, it was an amazing opportunity because to kind of be there with you at the kind of the beginning when everything was getting rolling. That was awesome to kind of see it come just materialize from an idea, which kudos to you, good sir. A lot of people have ideas, but I mean, everybody's got ideas, right? But it's turning those ideas into something tangible, and you did that. And I
don't know how I did that.
I heard the phrase over and over again throughout the development of dog football as far as catching lightning in a bottle, and that's exactly what you did. You found a way, you caught it, you put it in a bottle, and you executed. And that is how this game came to be a reality. It gets released, it's out there now, and everybody's got I have an idea for a game, blah blah blah. But you made it happen, dude. And there's so many parts that came together to make that happen. It's incredible to think that. I mean, there's so many moments that it could have failed along the way. So many moments. So the fact that we got it across the finish line, I mean, is just it's mind-boggling that you're able to do that. But
for me too.
To see that process, to be a part of that was incredible. But in addition to that, having a lot of the guys that I was able to recruit that I went to school with, that I was in the trenches with, when we were bleeding, animation and up for 3 days straight sweating, art. It's hey, you get into it for fun, but it turns out it's a lot of work. You have to, if you want to get good at this craft, and you have to have the passion. If you don't have the passion, you're not going to be able to make it in the industry. But if you have the passion and you love what you do and you're able to burn those extra calories and really put in that extra blood, sweat, and tears into your work, then you're going to be able to reach that next level. And to be able to kind of be a part of that and to bring in the people that I already had sweated and bled with throughout my time in school, that was amazing. And our crew that we had there was just one of the most amazing teams that we put together. And to be able to experience it and to go through all the challenges, the ups and downs, the wins and the failures along the way, and to experience that with everybody, that was probably for me the most enjoyable aspect of the whole process. But as far as takeaways, being a part of the whole process is my biggest takeaway from it, because having experienced it from ground to finish, you don't really get a lot of those opportunities. And it's 15 plus, over 15, maybe getting closer to 20, somewhere between 15 and 20 years now I've been in the industry. I've never had an experience like that before or since. It was a very unique experience. And the fact that when you get into a studio, a lot of times you're kind of locked into a specific role, or stay in your lane, bro, type of situation. But certainly that was not the case on dog football. You have to wear so many different hats along the way that it's really just quite an expansive experience as your own personal growth, to be able to just encompass so many different circles and dabble into so many different areas that if you're in a bigger company, you're just not going to get moments like that, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. And same for me. I mean, doing this start from finish, I've actually had the very good fortune, I know it's rare, to pretty much everything I worked, everything I worked on was start to finish, except for when I brought over a game from Japan, a dancing game, Bust a Move. I brought that over to the U.S. So it was already a done game. We were just, refining it for the U.S. market jointly with Europe. But those were external produced things, and I helped on Twisted Metal and some other things here and there, because you're at Sony, ball gets thrown at you in production, design on random stuff. But my personal projects, games I was working on, all those games I was start to finish, and yeah, I recognize and appreciate how special that was. But to go from like not only that, but not in the mothership of something like Sony, but like I have to go raise all the money. Like if we don't make it, if I don't make it happen, and we don't make it happen, it doesn't happen. There's no big check coming from Papa to make this happen. You just have blood, sweat, and tears, and just make it work. But having guys like you that have the experience and the know-how to be, like you said, wear a lot of hats. And if you need to figure it out, you figure it out, and you just get it done. You can't rely on a lot of money being thrown at this and just adding team members. And we did a little of that, not much. We were actually starting to add on a publishing wing when Bill Gardner joined us, the ex-CEO of IDOS and Capcom. And it was like, wow, we could actually have, development and publishing, and like it was a big to-do. And we published our own game. But having guys like Marc on staff that like could do everything and wrangle the team and brought on great people and manage all that, was indispensable. We would not have gotten there without you doing that. So thank you, good sir.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you.
Oh, man. So let's see. So what do we got here in the questions? Okay, what do you remember about the game development that you don't think most people would know?
Let's see. I mean, right off the bat, is like, I think that when, myself included, I think just any time you're picking up a game, you don't know like what goes into making the game. It's like you just figure, okay, this is cool. But the fact that like there's so many roads that have to be traveled and so many like problems that needed to be solved along the way. I mean, the game engine alone for like number one, like going with Gamebryo, like just trying to figure out like what game engine are we even going to use? Like, nope, when you pick it up, you don't think about that. Oh, there's Unreal now. Oh, it's Unity. Like, oh, is it? Like, I don't know. I'm just playing the game. It's like most people, it's not even a thought, but like there's so much that goes on behind the scenes to bring the game to be actually like made. Like, I think just as a game player and somebody that's just picking up a game, nobody is going to even appreciate or know about that, or the fact that like we're actually like going out there and looking at dogs and checking, trying to actually do research on like, let's see what are dogs going to do, taking reference, and this was more for fun, but like with like the Jason putting on the poodle outfit, like let's see what does a pig poodle look like it's a little ridiculous, but there's a lot of stuff like that is more grounded in reality that happens behind the scenes that you're actually trying to like let's ground this game in reality. Let's do our best to do our due diligence, get some research, check actual dogs doing their thing. I think that in combination with like the whole origin story that, I mean, you've probably told this on your stream before, but like the origin story of like how this concept even came to be, with the fact that you're like, oh, what's this? Dogs at the park, playing, like what's the game? Let's turn this into a video game. It's like, how the origin, the spark, the catalyst for something like this turned into, what turned into this amazing product that was released for the public. I don't think anybody knows or appreciates all the stuff that goes in behind the scenes as far as like gathering reference and thinking about like characters, getting our boards together with like, okay, who's the next character? Oh, let's go with Tahani, fire dancer, coming up with all this reference of fire dancers and throwing flames and Hawaii and like just crazy stuff that just all went into making it a reality for us in this game.
That's true. I remember driving out, a friend of mine, his group is like a award-winning Tahitian Hawaiian fire dance group, and they're down in San Diego. Jeff Merghart, great guy, used to work with him at Sony days, incredible animator and drawer artist. But he said, oh yeah, I know this, there's another band up your way and they're like really tough, and he's like, you should go check them out, because I wanted authenticity. I wanted to like, if it's a Tahitian fire girl in our game, I want a real one. I want her real voiceover. I want the real music. So I went to them and I'm like, can we use your music in the game? They're like, absolutely. I said, can we use a voice? And the head lady running it, she's like, yeah, I'll come in and record the VOs and help you craft the dialogue lines so they're authentic. And people probably think, oh, this silly doggy game. No idea the authenticity. We even like have a Eskimo girl who's modeled after the Yupik tribe. And we actually called on the phone and got to someone in the Yupik tribe, friend of a friend, or actually the voiceover who played Ashley. Her family's from there, and we got to call in and actually talk to them on the phone and get real dialogue from them, like how it's delivered, how it's said, and give that to the VO talent to deliver the line. So like a lot of things that people wouldn't think in this, they think, oh, this silly game, but there's a lot of heart and soul that went into this. You know, even if it's not your thing or it is your thing, there's a lot of love in it, just top to bottom.
It really is. The music too, like the same thing goes. Like I don't know that I would have appreciated, or if anybody that played the game appreciated, but like I was there. It was a little concert experience. Like it was a whole like brass band, like full on symphony orchestra. Yeah. Like I was like, dang, this is epic. This is like legit. They're playing the music for the game, right there, symphony orchestra.
Yeah, the intro theme song. There was one of our investors actually had a guy he knew who was in school, up and coming in LA, and was becoming a big deal in terms of like composing for like film and TV and stuff, and he's like, well, I want to get more stuff on my portfolio, and so he was willing to write the scores. He wrote several of the scores for the game, for the Eskimo character. He wrote some for Madison. He wrote some well, for the intro, obviously. And so, yeah, we actually had to source an orchestra for this. We had the timpani player from Star Wars there. We had a bunch of people from this. I went to a bakery in San Francisco, and this lady there says, oh, I'm at the music school here, and we could get you some audio talent for that. And so we got all these incredible string players. We got a whole orchestra together to go with this score that this guy made, this up-and-coming guy from L.A. And then Fred Catero, who was like a legendary audio guy, recorded the More Cowbell, and he's got platinum gold records all up and down his hallway. He's in there doing the recording in the engineering room, and then we've got other guys, you know, band orchestras leading the orchestra, and like you said, it was pretty incredible to see.
I was blown away. I was like, this is right? Like, and that's the thing. It's like, how did you even make all, like, Jerry Rice, Symphony Orchestra, Artesian Fire Dancers?
So people think, like, we must have all this money, and I'm like, I would tell people, like Jerry Rice, I'm like, we don't have money. And he was coming to us as an investment opportunity. But we were working with the marketing guy from Sega, from Sonic days, and a brilliant guy, Al Nielsen. And he's like, hey, you know, don't take money from Jerry. He should be a name and a likeness in the game, and then work for shares, and that's a good trade 1-to-1. And we pitched Jerry on it, and Jerry loved it, and boom, you know, rest is history with that. But same with like the orchestra. I went to them. I'm like, we are not the rich game studio, but if you think it would be fun to be a part of this, it's going to be cute and fun. And I show them the product, and they're like, this does look pretty fun. I'm like, we can pay you something, you know, a couple $100 or $100 or whatever it is, you know, but we're not rich. And they're like, we'll come in and we'll do it. Just make it, you know, make it a day, half day or whatever. We're good to go. And so everybody was doing this. And Fred Catero, this legendary audio guy, he's an investor, so zero cost. Same with like the orchestra instructor. I played in a band with him. He was all no worries. In fact, Dixieland Jazz Band, which is the music for our clown character, for Fleabo, which Scott was the voiceover for. If you just saw Scott in Elastic. So all these kind of just good people with a lot of talent that happen to be, we're in an area rich for that in the Bay Area, that said, this sounds cute. This sounds fun. I want to be a part of it. I don't care that you don't have a lot of money. I don't even care if you can't pay me. I just want to be in this thing. And boom, there they are. That's what happened. It's unbelievable.
Lightning in a bottle.
Lightning in a bottle. So that's another tangent for you folks. All right, let's see if I got to unfold
It's all tangents all day.
Oh, dude, we're a tangent farm. Enjoy the tangent farm.
It really is.
All right, so, okay, got you. Here's sort of the similar, but I'll ask it anyways. What is the funniest thing you recall happening while working on dog football?
Oh, man, yes. There was a lot of crazy times. Just being like with all the people that, you know, like I said, you had the opportunity to, I had the opportunity to like go to school with, like, there was always some sort of shenanigans going on. So a lot of times at like game studios, you will have, you know, you'll see, at least it used to be, I don't know about as much nowadays, but like Nerf guns were always like kind of a thing. And so I remember there was one day where we were kind of like, I guess it was almost like a Cold War. We were stocking up like on our lunch breaks, going to like Toys R Us, which at the time existed. I don't think it doesn't even exist anymore, or in a different form online. I don't know.
Yeah, you go to Target or something.
Yeah, exactly. You got to go to Target if you want that. But at the time, it was like we would, you know, take our regular Toys R Us lunch breaks, and and kind
game industry.
and stock up on Nerf weaponry. And so I would see, people, stocking up on their Nerf guns, and it looked like, one of the artists was like kind of like doing some sort of modification, like taking safeties off, so it was like shoot harder and farther. So I was just going, I don't know, man. Looks like people are starting to stock up. So of course, I okay, well, I'm going to need to arm myself as well, and I ended up like getting the highest velocity of what's the top level Nerf weaponry I can get, and so I got like this automatic machine gun, 100 rounds per minute or whatever it was. It's like just okay. I was like, okay, I feel safe now. And then, but
this is a work environment. This is important. You gotta level up.
You do. You gotta level up. And there was one moment where it was inevitable. I mean, everybody's stocking up. It's going to happen at some point. And so war broke out. Of course, boxes and chairs were toppled off of locations. We had to defend ourselves, make sure our cubicles, our territory was safe. And I would like to say that my automated machine gun did quite well. I took out at least 2 of the artists with it. I think in the end I fell ultimately, but I held my ground as long as I could. That was an epic moment. But I think probably the funniest, maybe the funniest. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint one, but one that stands out in my mind is when Scott Matt first came to the team. And again, this is when we were in the aforementioned closet space. We're renting a room, like a small room, in another larger building, and so there's no space already. And I think Dan already took the time, okay, this is gonna be Scott's desk when he gets in. Show him around. Dan was out running around dealing with investors, so there's no real supervision in the studio or the closet at the time. And one of the other artists, I would like to take credit for this, but I can't. However, the artist that came up with the idea, I was fully on board with it, supported 1,000% when I heard it. He was like, hey, when Scott comes in, we should totally prank him, and let's pretend this is his desk over here. And so instead of giving him a legit desk, which is already a small space, this table that we're on, this is 2 or 3 times.
We share our tiny little table.
This is 2 or 3 times larger than the space that any artist had at that time. It's probably at least double the size. Probably double the size of any artist's table space. So it's already little space, right? So Scott had his little space set aside and ready to go. And I guess we had the interview with Scott earlier, so I'm giving you a little dirt on Scott. You can pair these 2 videos together. But this other artist was like, let's put him on the smallest area. And it was a tiny little file cabinet that had, and we pulled the drawer out slightly so that would be a keyboard rest. The monitor was hanging over it. So you can't even, you have to be I don't even think both hands could fit. You're just cramped like this to try and type in there, and the mouse was hanging off the side.
Yeah, it was on a little I don't know, some little tin or something.
That was part of the joke.
It's you can put the mouse on it and move about a half inch in any direction.
That was a later part after we already did the whole joke. It's oh man, put this. Yeah, that was the icing on the cake. Somebody put this thing as the mouse pad. This is where the mouse is gonna go. And we're yes, that's perfect. So we had this all set up, and Scott comes in like a champ. He didn't even question it. He's okay. He gave one deep breath. Okay, let's do this.
He's a soldier.
Yeah, he was a soldier, man. He sucked it up. He was on board, and we're just we were having a hard time. We're just watching it unfold and watching him seriously trying to actually work in this tiny space with the keyboard falling off, and we're just I think we're just busted up the entire time, and I don't think Scott realized we were laughing at him or the situation. But then when Dan came in, the cat was away, but now the cat is back. Dan was not pleased with the lack of productivity, but I will always hearken it in my heart as that was a pretty magical moment.
It was worth it. It was worth it. I guarantee. And I recall, and maybe I recall this wrong, but I recall calling it in to tell somebody to do this as a prank on Scott. That
Did
I thought
you
it was,
go?
Yeah.
I thought you were mad when
No,
you got...
okay, so I thought it was hilarious, and I was like, when Scott gets there, let's do this funny setup, right?
Maybe it was you the words into the... I thought it was one of the
No,
artists.
so the thing that I was upset about was that after this, somebody had our CTO go and like hook up all the internet connections and the cable. I was like, no, it's just supposed to be a joke on him. It's not supposed to be a functioning work environment. That's the joke, is that it's not functional. It's completely useless, and yet we're expecting him to work there. That's the joke. But they're like,
We
no,
took it too far.
we just had the CTO get it fully functional. It's like, oh my God, we do not have the time and money to blow on this joke. I mean,
see, there's more to this story than I even remembered. There you go. There you go.
But it was glorious, and I'm glad it happened.
It was amazing.
Because that was so funny. And Scott told me, he's like, yeah, I left a good job. He's like, I really want to be a part of this, but I got a good job right now.
I remember, he was a hard sell. You had to work hard to sell him, and you finally ripped his
Oh, man.
Throw him into this.
I had to sell a lot of people, man. Some of these stories, I mean, I probably can't even tell them because there are elements of it that are probably not okay to say. But
this is true.
I'll just say there was a lot of work put in.
That'll be in the uncut version.
Yeah, the uncut
version.
Yeah, well, I'll just say there's another story for another day.
The Judobaby After Dark.
Yeah,
After Dark special.
We'll share those for later. But for now, let's see. I had another couple of questions for you.
Nice.
Okay, so the company still intends to launch some new games. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I didn't know I was going to do it the first time. So
a miracle.
Might happen.
A Judobaby miracle.
A Judobaby miracle. The first time we got the demo video done, and then that's how we used that to go raise money and get the game out the door. So we're doing that again with Dino-Dogs Football with Marshawn Lynch. We've already got Marshawn on contract. We recorded all the voiceover. Marc was there for that. Got the headshots for him. He's all modeled in the game. So now we're just getting it all in the demo video, all animated, and that's in process literally right now. I'm at Marc's house, and that's happening inside a big portion of it. He's kind of managing the crew to make this happen on a shoestring.
I could throw a stone and hit where the magic is happening.
Yeah, he could ruin a hard drive. That's critical.
It might hit a hard drive. That's the problem. So I probably won't throw this down.
Okay, so we're working on Dino-Dogs Football. We've also got an old video for Cat and Dog Soccer, which we'd revamp all that stuff too. But so there's an argument for going either way. Like literally right now, the dog football game sells in 80 countries. Like
that's
not
crazy.
even just in the U.S. People
80 countries. I didn't even know that.
Dog
like
football.
That's a wild stat.
I gotta have 80 Romania.
Countries.
This is
insane.
Algeria. You gotta have dog football. I mean, they don't even play American football there. But
they don't even know what it is.
But if you go on Steam. It's selling over. But then I think soccer is a good game for the rest of the world, and that makes a lot of sense. And then you got cats and the dogs. You got everybody. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But we've already got Marshawn cooking. We got Dino-Dogs cooking. So, but in your perspective, and you're a game player, and you've been part of the studio, what do you think we should focus on next?
I mean, that's a difficult question because, like, it's a matter of what is going to sell versus what am I passionate about, like
probably from both perspectives.
Yeah, so if I was going to be like what's going to sell more, I think you bring up a good point as far as like soccer, like it's a world thing, like everybody loves soccer, and cats, like I mean cats are pretty, like it literally built, the internet was built on cat videos, so like I think it's a pretty easy sell as far as like cat soccer goes. That being said, like having the opportunity to work with Marshawn Lynch, like, dude is amazing. Like, he is a superhero, an icon of the industry. Like, he's still
yet again.
Like,
our little doggy game
doesn't even make sense how that happened, but yet he is like a
legends attract to dog football.
Legendary Marshawn Lynch, beast, and like of all things, beast mode. Like beast mode. It's a beast, like it is literally dinosaurs and dogs. Beast, like it could not be a more perfect matchup than that. So I mean, like for my passion, selfish passion as a gamer, I'm really excited about like the dinosaurs blended with dogs football. That to me, and I was even talking to you a little bit about it, like back in the day when you were conceiving this idea. It kind of reminds me of like one of my all-time favorite games, like at the dawn of like before video games became the industry that it's known as today. Before EA was EA, when EA was like, it was EO, their symbol was EOA. Yeah. When it was that, they released a little game called Mail Order Monsters, and I believe I remember you played it back in the day, and I loved that game. That game was amazing, and it had the concept was like you're building your own monster, and you could like mix and match, like, okay, well, I want a lion, I want a dinosaur, I want a scorpion tail. Like, you could do all these things to like build these cool monsters, and then they're fighting each other. It was like, this is the greatest game ever. So of course I love that game. And when you were pitching the idea of Dino-Dog Football, like that, just like, it was like that Ratatouille moment where it's just like, this is the most delicious soup I've ever tasted. It's like, for all the, you know, I'm traveling through time and space back to my days of playing Miller Monster. So it was like, yes, sign me up. I am on board for this. And to have the opportunity to actually start working on some of the art for that game, I'm loving the direction it's going. I think it's going to be amazing. So I'm in my selfish mode, most excited to see that come to fruition.
I'm the same way. I think cat and dog soccer makes the most sense as like sales wise.
Yeah.
And I like the idea, like, I don't know if you know about this, but my vision is when we do this international, we can bring stars from all over the world. Like, who's the biggest soccer star in Mexico?
Yeah.
Or the biggest soccer star in Argentina or in England or wherever, right? Or Germany. And letting that be the star for their area. And then also, like, if we're working from each zone, I want like a Mexico level. I want a German level. I want artists from those areas and developers to work on those levels. So there's like some ownership in each area where this game can be sold, and played, but also for them to learn. Like, if some of those are juniors, like we're taking some juniors right now, and we're working on the Dino-Dogs Football demo video, and I'm watching Marc kind of help shepherd them towards, like, well, this is what would make this look a little better, and if you put this into the animation, and I'm doing that too. We're both kind of like trying to really sauce this thing up. But these guys are learning and growing, and I think doing that around the world with people who don't have a lot of access to the kind of entertainment value we have in the Bay Area or in the U.S., I think they don't have in some of those places that development high level. And I think being able to pass that down to every one of these areas and put that into the game and make it part of their culture into the game, I just think I love that. Kind of like we did with the music in the game and the authenticity, like extending that all over. Cat and dog soccer has that. I love it. But the blend of the dinosaurs and dogs, and when I'm looking at the video and we made the characters bigger, I'm like, a stego poodle. I want to be a little terrified of him, even though he's kind of cuddly and he wouldn't hurt you. But I want to see that, like, bringing that out and just putting all that art and passion into it. I see Dino-Dogs Football being pretty damn amazing, and most people aren't going to be able to vision it yet. But like teleporters in there and lightning stuff, like the Jurassic mix and the technology mix, and there's like alien tech and crazy stuff. To me, I mean, it's just, dog football was already kind of bonkers for a lot of people. They're like, what is going on in this crazy world? But this one's going to be like next level compared to that. You don't even know.
We're
like,
taking the bonkers level exponentially.
Oh my God! If I can get this thing done, I think it's going to be pretty amazing. Okay, and we're getting dark here, so I got.
We're losing light.
We're losing
I don't
light,
know
folks.
if you can tell.
Okay.
The camera seems to be adjusting pretty well.
Well, we've only got a couple. I think we're good. We'll make it. So I'm going to say this is one I've been really hoping to get to. Any tips for artists that are looking to get into the game, and young folks that want to get into video games? They're like, where do I go? What do I do? How do I make this happen?
I mean, that's a question I get a lot now. That was the question I was asking at the beginning. I mean, because I remember, like, when I was
become the master,
which is crazy. Like, because I still remember
the student becomes the master.
I remember those days. Like, it can be so frustrating to be knocking on the door and like trying to get into the game industry, and just once because again, like, most people may not even realize it's a thing, but if you know it's a thing and you're like, that's what I want to do, then it's like that next level is like, how do I get there? What's the path to get there? And that was certainly challenging for me. And I see that new artists that come to me from time to time to ask, hey, any tips or whatever. I mean, I pretty much tell them the same thing that you told me that you got from your artists going out. I mean, it all starts with you got to really get that training up there. And even though like a lot of studios like expect that you have a bachelor's in arts, that I would say you should get that, but the most important thing that people are looking for are your portfolio. Like, if your portfolio is golden, a lot can be forgiven. Like, oh, you just went to junior college, but this portfolio, like, it's it. Like, get your bachelor's in arts, but the number one thing you need to focus on is getting that portfolio up to speed. And The other element to that is like there's a lot of little bits and pieces, right? Because everybody has their own journey to take in that regard. But the other element that I don't think people necessarily may know about, talk about, or hear about a lot is just how important that passion is. Like, if you don't have the fire, you're not going to make it in. You should not even start going down that path, because it's like, it is such a difficult road. It is a difficult journey. I mean, I think at the time when I started, it didn't matter what sort of hoops I had, what sort of fire I had to walk through. I was down. Like, nothing was going to stop me. So it wouldn't have been a hindrance to me had I known like how hard the journey was going to be ahead of time. I would have embraced it and, you know, dove in like, you know, head first. And I'm so glad that I did, because like it doing so and committing to it as I did is what changed my life and actually giving me a career that I love and I'm passionate about, which before that I was doing a lot of other stuff for years and just never loved it, hated it, looking at the clock all day long going, oh, will this day ever end? Now it's the exact opposite. I'm like, oh man, it's already 2 a.m. in the morning. I didn't, you know, I've been working on something I love for so long, I forgot what time it was. So you have to have that fire. And if you don't, look for another job. Just straight up look for another job. But if you do, and you know deep down inside you have that fire, then you need to pursue it, and you need to like go in like 100%. You can't tiptoe in. You got to go full. You be prepared for sleepless nights. Be prepared to give up a social life. Be prepared to just commit everything you're doing to your craft and dedicate at least a good chunk of your life to that until you can ramp your skills up to get to a point where you're marketable. And then you can start to, you know, take your foot off the gas a little bit so that you're not like dead at the end. You know, at least you could have a normal or closer to normal life. But in the beginning, you have to like go like 1,000%. You have to like give everything and more to get, because there's so much competition out there. Like this is a dream job, a dream career. So everybody wants to get into it. It's only the people that are going to be in the top 1% that are going to be able to make it. And in order to get to that level, you need to put in the work. You need to like dedicate yourself.
And I'd say two things I've noticed, and I don't know if you co-sign this, but I'll mention it and see what you think. Two things. One, with the portfolio, life drawing skills are critical, at least from what I've learned from some of the great artists I've worked from, that if you can have all the technical computer skills, but the life drawing gives you a fundamental base that translates to anything you can do digitally. But if you don't have that, it can never translate digitally because you don't have it. And if you don't have it, the next guy might. And if he does, he's probably going to get the job over you because he's a more talented artist. Not necessarily because he has more talent just innate, but he put in that work. He put in that time, and he valued that skill set. Now he's bringing that to his portfolio, to his job, and it comes through, from what I've seen, comes through in every piece of work that he produces. Would you agree with that? Or?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the thing that I also kind of became aware of in this in my journey as well, is like a lot of people will have the impression that, oh, it's like I'm not good at art, or I could never be as good of an artist as someone. It's like, no, that's not a thing. It's like, you're not born like an amazing, you're either more inclined to art or you're not, but you're not going to be just innately, I am the greatest artist of all time. You, no matter what, you have to put in the work. You have, and it's a developable, it's like, the good news is this is a skill that can be developed, right? The bad news is you have to develop that skill. Like, so it's definitely something you have to invest your time in. You can learn it, you can get better, and you will get better, but you have to pour in the time to do it. And like you said, life drawing, the traditional skills, they're paramount. Like, without it, because this is the thing about, computers, digital art, anything. It's just another tool in the belt. It's another paintbrush. But if you don't have the skills to use a tool, it's not going to help you to have that in your belt. So I was fortunate that I discovered San Jose State, and that was the foundation that they build all their entire art department on. They know that like in and out. In fact, they were more focused. They were less. They've recently become like way ramped up on the 3D, but when I first got there, like 3D was almost not even a thing at the school. It was like to get your traditional skills down, like focus on that. And so that went a long way for me in my own trajectory as an artist, to just like, okay, this was not a thing that I was personally focused on, but I need to like really get it. Figure drawing, like getting the human anatomy and understanding that, like, it's something that applies to everything. And if you can understand the human body and how to draw it accurately, and understand everything that goes on with it, and to be able to do quick sketches and things like that, that just translates across pretty much every other. Even if you want to be an environmental artist, like all the lessons that you take from figure drawing and life drawing and anatomy all can translate over, just like the curves and understanding the flow of your pencil and things like that. It all pays off for everything. It just like branches off from there. So yeah, absolutely. And if you go to a 4-year college, which I would strongly recommend to anybody, it can be done without it, but like that's a harder path. So the easier path, stick to the 4-year college, like be regimented, dedicate yourself for those 4 years to do nothing, breathe, drink art, like just art, like for those 4 years, and then just keep cranking on your portfolio. And as long as you do that, you will keep pushing yourself above the competition. And when those opportunities come up, you will. I think your uncle coined a phrase that I love, and still I still like think about to this day because it's so true. It's like he said, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Oh, Vern.
Yeah. That was his catchphrase, man.
Co-founder.
Co-founder Vern, man. Like
first money in, made it happen.
Yeah, and those were I still. It was always something that I instinctively knew and kind of lived by. But when he put it into words, it just like came together for me. I was like, dude, yes, that is so true. I mean, it's almost like a joke, right? Because you're not getting lucky. You're putting in the work. Opportunities will come. So it's a matter of getting that work in, being passionate, and dedicating yourself to your craft.
Yeah, the hard work meets the opportunity. Yeah, actually, I remember when you first came at Sony, the artist, one of the recommendations was make sure he's working on his life drawing skills. I remember that as an early, what they said for you, yep. And then you carried that forward. And then I remember, like you said about the environments, later on, a lot of artists I work with, these were Pixar guys, Disney guys that got to work with some of the greatest artists of all time in the industry, like way back to animation days, like early Disney and stuff, would tell me the same thing. They're like, the life drawing skills you learn for human anatomy, same thing for environments. And most people I know that were working in the industry had not even considered that. They always thought these are very different things, which reminds me of the other thing I wanted to say, which I think see if you co-sign this, I think for artists that want to work in the industry, if you want to stay on the projects, what I've learned is that you got to be good at multiple things. Like if you only want to be the concept guy, you're already in trouble, because there could be a slew of great concept guys that are fantastic, but they only need one or a couple that they're going to select for this project. And it might or may not be you. And even if it's you right now, it might not be you on the next one. And so when they say, well, we don't need a concept guy on the next one, but we've got a ton of texture map work to do, you're like, well, I don't really do textures. Well, guess what? We don't need you now, and you can go find another job. Or you know what, we're good with textures on the characters, but we need them on the environments, or we've got a lot of rigging that we've got to get done, or you know what, we're done with all the character work, we're done with all the animations, now it's all environment stuff. We've got to finish the environments to get this game done. It's all lighting, it's polish, it's shadows, like detailed stuff. And if you're not versed in those things, again, they're going to be like, well, I'm not sure we have a job for you right now. You might have to go look for work somewhere else. So what I've learned is if you're the guy when they say, can you do textures? And you say, yes. Can you do the rigging? Yes. Can you work on the environments? Yes. Can you do some of the lighting polish or some of the other artistic technical elements? And you're like, yes. You're the guy who's there till the finish, the project, because you're integral. And then when the new thing starts, you're also integral because that's how you got on in the first place. So that's what I've learned from a lot of artists that stick around at studios is, yes, you can be specialized in XYZ, but if you can also be an asset to the team in these other areas, you're more likely to keep the job.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, like, you want to make yourself of value to the company. You need to stand out. When you do get the job, you need to stand out as being of value to the company, because that is the downside of this industry. Like, I would never trade this profession for anything else in the world, but that is the downside. It is a very unstable industry. It is at a moment's notice, your entire team could get laid off, the company could get shut down, your IP could get sold. Like, it just happens. It's a common thing. I mean, just recently, you can look on the news right now, Google, Blizzard, tons of layoffs just right now.
And pick a year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Rinse and repeat. So every year, it's the same thing. So it's just the nature of the beast. It's going to happen. So be prepared for that by doing exactly what you said. Like, make yourself a valuable asset to the company. You need to make it so that the company cannot live without you. No, you need to like be able to do so much stuff that they're like, who are we laying off? And they're like, well, we can't get rid of that guy because they're just doing too much stuff. So that's the guy you need to be. And that includes exactly like you're saying. You need to be able to wear more than one hat. Like if you're just in the slot, that makes you a lot more easily disposable asset to the company. Like, well, we can pick up another concert artist later if we have to or whatever. It's like, and this is something I was telling my daughter too, because she's also trying to follow in those footsteps. And she wants to be a concept artist, ironically.
Don't they all?
I know.
Don't you?
It's popular. Everybody does. So, but like I was telling her, like you got to learn 3D. Like, and it's also very common nowadays that a lot of the concept artists are very fluent in 3D, and they start a lot of their concepts just like fleshing out proportions, perspectives, and things like that, getting stuff like just, gray boxed out in 3D, and then like render fully, getting in there and rendering stuff out. So I keep like stressing to her the importance of this too. It's like, get familiar with 3D, start learning it, get it under your belt, don't shy away from it. And if you're focused on 3D, learn other stuff like rigging or a little coding on the side if you can, or whatever the case may be. The effects. Effects is another lucrative like side job that there's a lot of need for it out there, and not a lot of like really talented effects artists out there. So that's a niche. If you can find your way into that, that's also another great opportunity. But this also kind of ties into another element, like when you're not just before you get the job. Like a lot of times, this was true when I was, graduating, and I still kind of hear and see a little bit about it today. But like sometimes artists will come out of school with the mindset of like, I'm going to go work at Pixar and I'm going to be the lead, art director and on the next, whatever. And that's
cake.
Exactly. Like, it's great, right? It's great to have aspirations. It's great to have goals. But when you have that in mind, and then a job at, Crystal Dynamics or Riot or, whatever studio comes up, it's like, hey, we need you to, do some grunt, in between animations work for us or something like that. Like, oh, I'm above that. I don't, I'm not going to get into that. Like, never, ever turn down an opportunity. Get your foot in the industry immediately. Take any opportunity that comes up. And I remember a story
100%.
that will stick with me, that I always think about when this topic comes up, is an instructor that I had at San Jose State. He told this story that has stuck with me, and I'm like, man, that's so true. But it's like, everybody knows Chuck Yeager, right? Like Chuck Yeager, he's the guy that broke the sound barrier and flew and broke the sound barrier, right? So that dude, obviously, ridiculously rich and famous, but who knows the guy that they asked first to fly that plane to break that? What was that guy's name?
No idea.
Nobody knows.
Skippy Joe.
Skippy Joe. Nobody knows. That guy was the guy that they wanted to do it because
Scott Matt.
It could have been Scott Matt, because he was like the number one, like military, highfalutin guy, and they're like, we want you. You're the guy to fly this plane. And he was like, yeah, but I want this amount of money. I really, what are you going to pay? And they're like, oh, we don't have that budget. And they're like, well, who's the second choice? Chuck Yeager. And Chuck Yeager is now the guy whatever happened to that guy? The first pick, gone. So it's like the moral of that story, never turn down a flight mission.
Yeah.
You get a flight mission, you jump on that plane. You get there. You break that sound barrier. You be that guy. Take that job. I don't care if it's wiping floors. Like, get in the company. Like, another example that just came up that was like exactly the same thing. This was a guy that I was working with. He actually he got his degree in music and realized he hated music and loved art and wanted to be an artist. And it was a similar type of thing where it was like, he was passionate, he had the fire, and he just nailed down his art skills and like really just like kept cranking up. He got around other industry professionals and was like really just like ramping up. and got to a level where it's like, okay, his portfolio's marketable now. And then he got a job offer as doing like these little tiny icons in some random mobile game that nobody's ever heard of. And so he's like, okay, whatever, I'll take the job. And so he took the job and ended up meeting some other guys in the industry. And then meeting some other guys in the industry, getting a job then at a much better studio, and then working his way up. And now he's making, a ridiculous amount of money as a lead, like outsourcing director at a super high name studio that everybody is like a dream job, I think, for anybody. So it's like, again, he didn't turn down that early flight mission. It's like, oh, I'm too good to make little icons for a game, because that led him to the next stone, to the next stone, to the next stone.
See, that is so true. And I'll add one little bit to that. Well, we got our last question coming, but I'm going to add one little bit to that. Our director at Sony, when I was there, this guy Kelly Flock was an amazing dude. I finally have found out that he started off in the mailroom. And he was just doing mailroom stuff, but he was in the game industry, right? He was working at a studio. And they had a contest that they just emailed out to anybody who had an email address at the company saying, hey, we're doing this marketing thing. We want to see if anyone's got any thoughts. Feel free to write up a little piece for it and see what happens, right? Well, he was actually pretty damn good. And he wrote up a brilliant piece. And everyone's like, well, who is this guy? We want to use this. This is some good stuff. And they recruited him up out of the mailroom. And next thing you know, you go down the road, he was head up in marketing, and then he's running the entire studio. And I don't think it took that long. I think it was like a 5-year journey, I think it was, something like that. From the mailroom. So same thing, like people ask, like, oh, where can I get in the game industry? I'm like, throw a rock. You can be legal, not even as a lawyer, but like as a paralegal or just sweeping the floors. Like, just get in there.
Get your
and if
foot
you've got
in the door.
talent, and another guy, Gary Barth, who's incredible at Sony. When I was there, he was doing the underground magazines, kind of video recording people and what's this and that. And today at Sony, he's doing with the Spider-Man game. He has a whole crew designing what is the 3D models they're actually going to build to put it. We used to be at E3, but up around the studios or any marketing materials.
Mm-hmm.
He's got kind of a dream job there. It's like he can get all the assets from the studios or from the films, and just be creative and have a whole team to make these things come to physical life. Like if you go to Sony in Foster City and walk around, you'll see these incredible things they've built for all these games all around the place, and it's amazing. Maybe I have some pictures I can show for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was just doing underground magazine stuff there, and it was just, I think he was just assisting at the time. I don't quite recall the entire story. Gary, maybe we'll have you on someday to tell everybody about this. But yeah, get in wherever you can, and if you've got talent and passion, like Mark said, you can go places. So do it. Do it.
Do it. Do it.
So, okay, we got last questions as we're running out of light. We ran out of while. Whatever, we're doing it. Oh, yeah, so I don't know if you know much about this, but we're doing these challenges right now. We're doing a combination of what they say IRL, in real life challenges. Like the one right now is if you go to a shelter.
Is that what the kids are saying these days?
The kids, they got the Earls. They like the Earl. So if you go to a shelter or rescue and you just kind of videotape yourself, talk about some cats or dogs that they're trying to find a home for, or you're just spending a little time taking care of them, whatever, post that up on our Facebook page, and you'll get $50 if we select you as the one that put in the most heart, soul, passion, all that stuff. And we'll send $50 to your favorite animal charity. So it's win-win.
Win-win.
Dude, there's so many wins, and it's all in the animal zone. And then we're also going to do game ones. Coming up will be who gets the highest score in a game of dog football. We're having a cutoff date for you to come up with your highest score. I'm going to do the first challenge, just me against Scott, just for funsies. Scott was one of the designers.
Scott's pretty tough to beat.
I think I can take it. We'll see, right? So who's got the highest score? But you'll have a cutoff date to post your best time, right? And then basically the one who scores the highest is going to, same thing, $50 for you, $50 for your favorite animal charity. So again, win-wins, playing the game style ones, real life ones. I know I'm just telling you about this now, but given that, are there any challenges you might like to see?
Oh man, I think we definitely need any opportunity to get out there and actually throw a football around. I feel like my football arm has been getting a lot of rust. So yeah, I would love to see anything related to that. Throwing through a tire, distance, things football related would be super fun. Or even getting out there with a dog, bring your pet along, some sort of dog jumping contest or catching or something like that. Anything related to, the game that you could see in real life would be pretty sick too.
I like that. I'm kind of thinking, I wonder if I can coax Jerry or Marshawn out for one of these things. We'll see what I can do.
You would be able to draw a crowd if you could pull that off.
I think that would definitely get a crowd. It would definitely be interesting. So.
Especially if you had them both. Like one team, like how
That's
they're doing,
the idea.
like they're doing they're doing this. I think at the instead of the Pro Bowl, they're doing like a flag football thing now at the Pro Bowl, and like some of these top, I think even Jerry Rice was like assembled a team. I think do something like that where they pick a team, like okay, my team of players and dogs, and your team of players, and do a little dog Olympics or something. I don't know.
That's the idea. We're actually thinking about a way to actually have people play dog football for real. I'm going to test this out. I'm going to try to contact some rescues or some friends and see if we can come up with a way to test this. I've got a theory in my mind about how we can do real dog football with real dogs and real humans and test that. And if it works, then do a more live exhibition event with Jerry and Marshawn if they want to come out with their dogs and see if we can do something for that and raise some money for charities and rescues and that sort of thing.
And I think that would also put like a lot of visibility, shine a spotlight on the game itself. Like people would start to see, wow, this is a thing. Like you could actually play this in real life. Like seeing that, I think would also spark a lot of people's interest. Like, oh, I need to try this. Like I could just play this on my console right now.
That is actually the number one thing that happens today with the game. Still sells. I mean, we shipped this a long time ago. People still buy it today and say, I just heard about this now. Why did I just learn about this? This is awesome. It sounds super fun. I love this, blah, 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 blah. So, I think we can keep pushing this forward, and hopefully we're pushing into Dino-Dogs being out there, cat and dog soccer, and we got other ideas for Pet Sports League. There's a lot that can happen. But, Marc, thank you for taking the time.
Pleasure was mine,
Share
my
some
brother.
of your thoughts. It was awesome to hear and see you again and talk about more of this. Marc and I are working on Dino-Dogs Football behind the scenes. He's up here doing it. I'm at home. We got a few artists, some young whippersnappers, some industry vets. People are doing their part, making this whole thing happen. So we'll see if we can bring more pet sports entertainment to you.
Amen.
You guys look at each other and go, ah, like that. And then we put a
don't know why.
dinosaur right
in the middle. Done deal. Throw some dinos. All right, I'll do it.
Perfect.